Hello everyone, welcome to the Buzz the Prey Manga. Today we continue the latest Global Freeze chapter, rewritten and edited by me in English for a smooth reading experience. All visuals and story flow are personally edited to give you the best manga style storytelling. Support the original creator by checking the official manga. So let's dive right into the today's chapter.
Chapter 2687 Opening Fire 1. The internal space of the Celestial Clan warship was instantly torn apart. The metal plate-constructed chamber, containing human bones and flesh, was obliterated without explosion or light in the antimatter annihilation field. It simply transformed into a rapidly spreading gray mist before being completely wiped out. On the deck closest to the hole, a celestial officer was still in the posture of giving orders. His mouth had barely opened halfway when his entire body began to disappear bit by bit, starting from his toes. His battle armor, flesh, and bones were completely erased without any transition, like pencil lines wiped clean by an eraser. The remaining celestial warriors didn't even have time to scream. Only a few people, on the other side of the warship, saw through the monitoring screen that the central area of the ship suddenly collapsed, and then the whole screen went black, with all energy, gravity, air, temperature, and attraction all going haywire. Immediately afterwards, the outer shell was torn open by tremendous force, revealing a huge and ugly wound. The remaining structure, along with the surviving celestial warriors, was flung from that wound into the cold universe. Some didn't even have time to activate their personal protective shields before their bodies were quickly frozen, turning into brittle ice sculptures. Many more people were swept away by the annihilation aftershocks of the antimatter residue, leaving no trace of their bodies. The public channel was completely silent. That flagship, which once represented the glory of the Celestials and witnessed countless battles, now trembled wildly in the eerie blue light of the star corridor, like a hollow metal shell with a large chunk bitten off. That horrific wound, though only occupying less than 1/10 of the entire spaceship's volume, was extremely serious. The representatives of the ancient civilization held their breath. The accident happened too suddenly. Even though the Dreamer's antimatter planet-destroying cannon was charging up, none of the members of the large group expected that Zhang Yi was going to attack them. The next second, the shared channel exploded. Chaos. Are you crazy? The supreme god of heaven roared first, his voice almost overwhelming. What are you doing? Stop. Gutchewin of the Titans roared. We are allies. You have broken the agreement. This is betrayal. This is a declaration of war. Roars erupted from different channels, weaving together a cacophony of curses and disbelief. Zhang Yi stood in the center of the bridge, listening quietly to these sounds. He didn't rush to respond, but instead quietly glanced at the data. The first shot has a 100% success rate. Luke Heron reported, it is estimated that 30% of the Celestial Clan's high-ranking members were in the annihilation zone just now. There's still a little bit of dregs left. Yang Xinshin added, a few escape pods were ejected, but they were captured by the gravitational field of the star corridor and are being pulled toward the edge. Don't worry about them for now. Zhang Yi looked away and finally spoke. His voice, transmitted steadily through the public channel, reached every warship that was still intact. Why are we making a move? Of course, it's because Old Man wants to kill you all. His tone finally turned fanatical, and his eyes held a hint of destructive pleasure. Do you really think I'm an idiot? You went to all this trouble to get me here, just so you could kill me, right? Ha ha ha. Didn't expect to send yourself into such a desperate situation, did you? Become corpses in this lonely and empty universe. You have nowhere to escape. Zhang Yi finally no longer needed to pretend, and burst into laughter, mocking the stupidity of the higher-ups of the clan. The god of heaven clenched his fists, veins bulging on his face. Zhang Yi had discovered his intentions, which enraged him. Chaos. You've misunderstood us. We had no such intention. It's clearly you who betrayed the alliance. You're a sinner. Stop. Stop right now. Before we completely give up on you, stop and apologize. Zhang Yi sneered. I don't believe a single word you say, not even a punctuation mark. How can one tolerate another's snoring beside one's bed? Everyone understands this principle. Otherwise, why would you have attacked the Huashu kingdom a few years ago while I was away? Why are you pretending to be some kind of nomadic tribe? All talk and no action. Are you trying to make a fool of me? I agreed to come here with you so that we could capture you all without being disturbed. Zhang Yi doesn't care about the truth. He felt that the large ethnic group posed a threat to him and might conspire to harm him, which was enough for him. Even if a large group of people suddenly becomes kind and wants to cooperate with him, he will wipe them out in one fell swoop. Because he was too lazy to figure out human nature, only dead enemies were the safest enemies. These guys actually wanted to use contracts to bind Zhang Yi. Little did they know that in Zhang Yi's eyes, those contracts were nothing but a piece of waste paper. Zhang Yi was never a big shot. He was selfish, cowardly, and insecure. He had no bottom line when it came to protecting himself and those around him. Moreover, since his target this time was someone who had once tried to destroy the Huashu kingdom, he had even less of a psychological burden. These few words are like dropping a high-temperature metal ball into a vacuum. The other end of the channel exploded instantly. You dare. Chaos. You dare to oppose our great ancient civilization just because you have a single Huashu kingdom? Gu Shan's voice was deep and thunderous, carrying an extremely cold, killing intent. Do you know what you're doing? You're bringing annihilation upon the entire Huashu kingdom. Zhang Yi chuckled softly. Of course I know. His gaze swept over the 4 warships. This is a golden opportunity. If you miss it, you'll never have another chance. He raised his finger and lightly drew 3 more dotted lines, which simultaneously landed on the warships of the Wolf Clan, Titan Clan, and Ironclad Clan. This is an opportunity to wipe out the core fighting force of the great civilization in one fell swoop. Main gun, keep firing and blasting them to smithereens. Turn them into floating debris in space. Stop. Lu Karen's voice was like pressing a certain rhythm key. She excitedly licked her lips. Only on a battlefield like this could she use the antimatter planet destroyer so freely. On Earth, Zhang Yi didn't even dare to use such a powerful weapon because it would cause too much destruction. The antimatter planet destroyer was recharged, and the space around the turret visibly distorted. Rings of energy spun at an extremely rapid speed, as if trying to drain the entire universe and condense it into that black light. The warships of the Great Race dared not hesitate any longer. Activate all defense systems. Adjust course and spread out. Main guns charged. Aim at the Dreamer. Launch immediately. I originally planned to lure him into the Starry Sky corridor and kill him, but now I'll just focus all my attacks on him. It'll be a bit more troublesome, but the outcome won't change. Their ships began to drastically change course, attempting to create distance. A series of defensive force fields overlapped like onion skins, energy shields, material armor, phase deflection barriers. All the military technology they had accumulated over billions of years was now focused on one direction. Ahead of the Dreamer, a second beam of black light shot out with a roar. This time, the target is the Wolf Clan. Kroba clenched his teeth tightly, his eyes bloodshot, watching the black light sweep towards him. Misalignment shield. Full power. A thin, grayish-white film spread out around the warship, forcibly distorting space and blurring the entire ship's visibility as if it had been stretched by 2 or 3 millimeters. Chapter 2688 Opening Fire 2. In theory, any attack fired from the outside will be deflected by this misaligned space, until the enormous black beam launched from the Dreamer collided with it. There was no deflection. The spatial displacement shield didn't even last a second, like a piece of paper thrown into a frying pan. It wrinkled and collapsed wildly, and the entire shield was instantly flattened by the advance of the black light. Immediately afterwards, the black light disappeared into the hull of the Wolf Clan warship. Unlike the Celestials, whose ships were not directly penetrated, the metal plates collapsed layer by layer from the point of impact, and the ship's structure slowly disintegrated, as if licked by flames. Section after section of the cabin was torn apart, and rows of frozen compartments inside were overturned, with glass shards and cold air scattering everywhere. The wolf warriors didn't even have a chance to scream before they were annihilated into nothingness along with the freezing liquid. The control panel next to Kroba exploded instantly, and a shockwave of antimatter grazed half of his body. He instinctively raised his hand to block, but could only watch as his arm began to disappear from his fingertips. Is not cut off, but turned into nothingness. There wasn't a trace left on the skin, bones, muscles, or blood. The edge of the disappearance was as smooth as if the universe had been sliced off. The excruciating pain came belatedly. Kroba let out a heart-wrenching roar, its fangs fully extended, its eyes filled with blood red. Chaos. His roar came through the channel, nearly shattering the communication frequency. Faced with this roar, Zhang Yi on the bridge of the Dreamer simply moved his wrist slightly. Second shot hit. The overall structural damage rate of the Wolf Clan warship is 3.1%. Liu Karen quickly reported the situation. The control layer still has some intact blocks, but it has lost its propulsion and gravity systems. It is expected to be completely captured by the gravitational pull of the star corridor within 24 hours. The Titan warships in the distance finally opened fire. A thick beam of energy shot out from its bow, its outer layer wrapped in rings of plasma, its power astonishing. The ironclad clan also stopped, and black cubes popped out from the ship's belly, unfolding in the void and transforming into floating firepower platforms, pouring out dense energy barrages towards the Dreamer. In an instant, the entire starry sky seemed to be woven into a huge net by countless ribbons of light. If it were the Tianhai warship from 2 years ago, it would probably be riddled with holes by now, facing such firepower. But at this moment, all that rose around the Dreamer was a slightly dim, semi-transparent shield. The energy beams and barges, enough to destroy a city, struck the shield, only creating ripples. The ripples spread to the edge of the shield, and with a gentle sway, they dissipated into the void. The energy conversion of their cannon fire hitting our shields is only equivalent to 0.03 times the output of a planet-destroying cannon. Liu Karen's eyes were filled with excitement as she gave an extremely cruel number. She looked at the 5 ancient warships struggling in despair, trying to concentrate their fire to destroy the Dreamer, her eyes filled with a hint of contempt. You know nothing about the current level of technology in Shanghai. In other words, can we stand here next to them for a few minutes? Fatty Sue asked while munching on a crepe. Theoretically, of course it's possible. This is the latest energy shield technology. Liu Karen shrugged. But there's no need for that. Of course there's no need. Zhang Yi's tone was very calm. Just destroy them directly. Why waste time? The universe is our territory. Once these warships are destroyed, the deaths of the warriors from the 5 races who have lost their anchor are only a matter of time. He raised his hand and lit up a target. Continue the attack. The antimatter planet destroyer has a rather long charging time, requiring several seconds each time. However, Zhang Yi was not in a hurry at all, because his attack could easily destroy the warships of the 5 major races, and the concentrated firepower of the 5 major races could only tickle the Dreamer. Soon, that eternal black light reappeared. This time, Gutchewin of the Titans did not roar. He simply raised his head, staring intently at the extremely dark beam of light, and for the first time, an emotion called despair appeared on his rough face. He knew exactly what it was. That weapon was not just a simple weapon, but a verdict against their entire generation of Ming. I didn't expect that, Gutchewin murmured. We have lived cautiously for so many eras, hiding in the world under the planet, until now, and in the end we will die at the hands of our descendants. A black light pierced through the warship. The internal structure of Titan warships is completely identical to that of the Celestials. There were no elegant corridors or soft lighting. Instead, there were rough metal pillars, mountains of armor plates, and silvery white energy lines winding through them like blood vessels. As the antimatter ray passed through one of the energy pipelines, the blood of the entire warship instantly reversed. Inside one of the compartments, several Titan warriors were giving the heavy mechs a final check. Before the last bolt could be tightened, the entire cabin suddenly shook slightly. Some soldiers instinctively grabbed the handrail next to them. The next instant, he saw the thick energy pipe, as thick as a tree trunk, bulge in front of him, and then, as if the outer skin of the bulge was being bitten through by visible teeth. Intense blue-white light burst forth from the teeth marks, illuminating the entire cabin. Their shadows were pinned to the wall, stretched extremely long and thin for a very short moment, and then even the shadows were swallowed up. In the projection on the bridge of the Dreamer, all this appeared as a black scar running from bow to stern across the surface of the Titan warship. Scars appeared. Then it began to expand. The entire warship seemed to have been cleaved in two by an invisible knife. The crack contained not fire, not explosions, but a vast expanse of silent nothingness. The Titan flagship has lost its combat capability. Ironclad Clan warship shield collapse countdown, 27 seconds. The structure of the Zeepin Korean ship is experiencing high-frequency vibrations. They're attempting a jump. The current situation has left the 5 major ethnic groups feeling hopeless. No matter how desperately they focused their fire, the powerful energy cannons only created ripples when they struck the Dreamer's energy shield, but they couldn't break through it. The Zeepin clan finally realized something was wrong. This is a hunt for us. We've confused the prey with the hunter. Run. Continuing to fight now would be suicide. They must escape. Leap. Zhang Yi chuckled. Here, in front of Zhang Yi, Mo is joking. At the edge of the starry sky corridor, the curvature of space has long been torn to pieces by the legacy of the Starry Sky clan. Forcibly performing a spatial jump in such a place is no different from jumping off a cliff on scaffolding at the epicenter of an earthquake. Chapter 2689 The Shocking 5 Clans 1. Intercept. A Trojan horse has been implanted into the quantum core of the Zeepin warship. Yang Xinshin moved very quickly. The 6 months of interstellar travel were enough for Yang Xinshin to implant the virus into the warships of the Zeepin kingdom. She is a top-tier programmer who made the virus not just simple code, but a bottom-level logic that could change the entire world's architecture. She has already planted wedges in the warships of all 5 major races, and these guys are completely unaware of it. All for this moment, to cause a devastating attack. The next second, dozens of holographic screens on the bridge of the Zeepin warship simultaneously displayed a distorted image. The core controller was compromised as soon as the jump program started running. The warp portal, which was supposed to open, didn't. Instead, it folded inside the warship. Suddenly, the interior space of the warship was compressed and stretched, with one deck crashing into the next, and the distance between corridors being squeezed to zero. The soldiers along the entire passage didn't even have time to understand what was happening before they were crushed into an extremely fine cloud of blood mist in the spatial displacement. Before they could even disperse, they were sucked into the gap and disappeared completely. From the outside, the only things that appeared to be the Zeepin warship were a few strange bumps and dents on its surface. I have intercepted all the messages they tried to send toward Earth. I guarantee that anything sent here will not be known to Earth. Yang Xinshin said calmly. To ensure absolute safety, it is essential to implement intelligence blocking. Of course, it would be many years before the information was transmitted from here to Earth, and Zhang Yi was unwilling to leave such a calamity behind. He couldn't let know that he was the one who broke the agreement and opened fire on the 5 major ethnic groups. Immediately afterwards, the 4th shot of black light arrived silently. In the next few minutes, the starry sky became a cruel stage. 5 ancient civilization warships that once stood at the top of Earth's underground world were like old tanks being dismantled piece by modern heavy artillery in front of the Dreamer's antimatter planet-destroying cannon and its supporting weapons. There's no such thing as a decisive victory in one shot. It's just a patient slaughter. After all, this was the first time the antimatter planet-destroying cannon had been used in actual combat, so it couldn't achieve perfect efficiency in bombardment. Zhang Yi's name is Patience. He sat in a chair in front of the space porthole, patiently watching the fireworks show while drinking coffee. The Dreamer didn't rush to destroy all the targets, but patiently tested the capabilities of its planet-destroying cannon. At times, The main guns only disrupt the enemy's propulsion field, causing them to be pulled closer and closer under the gravity of the star corridor. At times, the Star Destroyer cannons reduce their power, only shearing off half of the ship's hull, allowing the remaining half to slowly tear apart under the influence of gravity. The areas swept by the planet-destroying cannons were eerily quiet. There were no flames, no scattered debris, only eerie hollows, as if a piece of a puzzle had been removed from the ship's hull. The edges of the cavity were very smooth, without even a trace of molten metal. Inside the cavity, it was utterly dark. In that darkness once stood warriors, commanders, armories, energy depots, countless lives, and the accumulation of civilization over countless years. Now there's nothing left. The 5 races' angry curses started as hysterical, then turned into hoarse roars, and finally, only heavy panting remained. They fought back with all their might. They could also operate their main guns, all aimed at the Dreamer, as if this silver-white warship was the only target they could vent their anger on. Streams of energy beams continued to pierce the starry sky, creating ripples on the Dreamer's shield. But the shield remained intact. They have about 7 more minutes of ammunition left. Lu Rant's tone remained calm. In 7 minutes, they won't even have the energy to argue anymore. Don't waste too much time. Zhang Yi said calmly. Keep the star-destroying cannons running. Destroy them one by one. The Dreamer is like a grim reaper slowly drifting through the starry sky. It is neither hasty nor impatient, neither chasing nor rushing, but only firing at the right angle and at the right time. Every shot took away a part of the ship, a part of the crew, and a part of hope. The voice of Aminomi no Naka no Kami finally became tired and low. Chaos, are you really going to block the road completely? His voice was hoarse. Do you know what you're doing? The highest-ranking officials of our 5 ancient civilizations are all here. If you kill us, will the ancient civilizations in other regions let you off the hook in the future? You think I haven't considered these costs? Zhang Yi interrupted him, his tone tinged with impatience. Don't worry, after you're dead, no one will know what I did. Even if you guessed it, they have no evidence whatsoever. Bai Longzi has made his point very clear. He needs the character. Li, meaning reason/reason. Even if the whole world knows that Zhang Yi destroyed 5 warships and the core combat force of the alien race, without evidence, they can't do anything about it. As for other ancient civilizations, he looked at the warships that were being slowly destroyed and said softly, I don't think I'm making them comfortable. A streak of black light flashed by. The ironclad clan's coffin-like warship finally cracked open completely. The thick alloy plate was as if it had been snapped in half by a giant hand, and countless black cubic defense modules inside were torn off along with it, then silently turned into black dust at the edge of the annihilation field. At the last moment, the ironclad clan's Gushin activated omnidirectional communication. His face appeared on the Dreamer's screen. The heavy helmet was broken, revealing an old face covered with metallic patterns. Chaos. He stared at Zhang Yi, his eyes bloodshot and filled with naked killing intent. You will regret it. I regret many things, Zhang Yi said with a smile, raising his glass to him. But this matter is clearly not among them. The call was interrupted. The ironclad warship fell into complete silence, with only some shattered armor plates slowly drifting in the gravitational waves before being swallowed up by the starry sky corridor. Soon, only the Zeepin clan's battered warship remained stubbornly holding out on the battlefield. One side of the warship was completely cracked, like half of its face had been torn off. The interior compartments were exposed in a vacuum, and the barely maintained localized atmosphere only provided a semblance of shelter for the surviving personnel. Jiankyo no Kami stood on the remaining bridge, with flickering lightning and intermittent lights behind him. He stared intently at the Dreamer in the distance, his eyes churning with hatred, yet suppressed by a powerful fear. Chaos. He took a deep breath and desperately tried to regain some semblance of dignity. It's not too late to stop now. We can renegotiate. Our Zeepin clan is willing to hand over all the Jaman records, offer up the Star clan coordinates, and even submit to the Huashu kingdom. Chapter 2690, The Shocking Five Clans 2. Hearing the pleas for mercy from the heavenly Lord God, Zhang Yi sneered. Nonsense, if I kill you all, everything you own will be mine. But your survival only adds to the uncertainty. The face of the heavenly god of the central realm turned deathly pale instantly. Why? When he uttered those two words, his voice was no longer that of a supreme god, but that of a loser being ground to dust by fate. We've been trying to win them over for 2 years. We signed treaties, opened trade, and restrained border frictions. We've done so much, and you still want to kill us. You're being nice to me, but you tricked me into coming here. Zhang Yi said calmly. I'm only showing weakness so that I can bring you all out with me. From the day you invaded China, our country has been locked in an irreconcilable feud. I don't believe a dog can change into eating shit. The bridge of the Zeepan ship was silent. At this moment, the supreme god of heaven finally realized that this group of self-proclaimed shrewd and calculating high-ranking officials of the ancient civilization had been on the wrong side from the very beginning. They were fishing for a greedy yet cautious young powerhouse. As a result, those who were truly treated as fish were the ones who were treated as fish. Aren't you afraid of retribution? The final words of the heavenly god were tinged with hysteria. The Creator will see all this. You are slaughtering the people of a great ancient civilization here and in the future.
Bang!
The antimatter planet-destroying cannon fired for the last time, interrupting the words of the god of heaven and earth. The black light, like a declaration of the end, swept lightly across the remaining shields of the Zeepan warship and pierced through the bridge. Before the god of the heavenly realm could finish speaking, his voice abruptly stopped on the channel. That ancient warship, which bore the banner of Jaman culture, finally lost its luster. In the deep blue gravitational glow of the star corridor, the flagship remains of the ancient civilization of the great, like a group of great corpses with their necks twisted off, were slowly pulled toward that deep blue cosmic wound. On their bodies were large craters, terrifying scars left by the antimatter planet-destroying cannons. All of this, which should have been perfectly normal, was actively blocked from external communication by the Dreamer, and no signal was transmitted to Earth. After returning to the Zhang Yi could say that the great clan had died in the starry sky corridor, and only they had escaped back. Anyway, whatever the truth is, isn't it up to him to decide? All warship targets have been cleared. Luke Heron gave the final tactical conclusion. With zero surrounding communication noise, the great civilization cannot send any substantial information back to Earth. Very good. Zhang Yi flexed his shoulders, as if he had just come out of a not-too-strenuous training session. He narrowed his eyes, and a murderous intent burst forth. Next, we need to deal with. The destruction of the fleet of the Great Race does not mean that all their powerful members have perished. Beside those collapsed ship hulls, countless faint points of light appeared densely packed in the starry sky. That's the emergency energy shield of that battlesuit. One after another, powerful warriors clad in battle armor struggled to adjust their posture in the vacuum of space, barely managing to stabilize themselves with the help of jets and the propulsion systems of their armor. They're still alive. After all, they were once an incredibly powerful cosmic civilization, possessing armor capable of existing in the sky. However, at present, apart from the star corridor tens of millions of kilometers away, there are no other stars that can be used as a landing point. They either choose to enter the starry sky corridor to their deaths, or they're left with only one option, to seize the Dreamer. They were filled with boundless hatred at this moment. That anger was the thought of his own plan being exposed, and him being tortured like a dog by Zhang Yi. Follow me. Once we get close to the warships, their weapons will be useless. Seize their warships and kill everyone on board. The heavenly god roared and transformed into a shooting star, rushing towards the Dreamer. While the antimatter planet destroyer is powerful, it requires charging and is only suitable for attacking large targets. Aiming precisely at a type object in space is extremely difficult. Moreover, the opponent is a night level, not one to stand there and let you attack. It can be said that the strongest people of each race at present have made the most correct choice. Hundreds of figures rushed toward the dreamer like a swarm of bees. They're coming. Yang Xinshin looked up at the rapidly converging points of light on the tactical light screen. Hundreds of high-level combatants. Ling added, the combat strength of a bishop-level person is no less than 10, and there are knight-level people among them. Like a swarm of wasps whose nest has been destroyed, they are ready to fight to the death. Zhang Yi stared at the image in front of him, watching those desperate criminals, and slowly raised his arm, stretching. It's time for me to step in. A section of the dreamer's outer armor slowly slid open, revealing an outer deck covered with energy locks. That is a battlefield built in the starry sky. In zero gravity, a faint blue halo illuminates along the edge of the deck to distinguish the inside from the outside. Outside the aperture lies absolute vacuum and an endless sea of stars. Zhang Yi stood up. The nanostructure of the White Emperor's battle suit rapidly unfolded from the back of his neck, and segments of scales covered his entire body like flowing water. The luster wasn't dazzling, even somewhat understated. The only striking feature was the emblem on its chest, tinged with a pale gold by the power of faith. The moment the suit was fully closed, a terrifying aura emanated from him. Those thousands of points of supernatural ability index, after being reconfigured with the help of the battlesuit, displayed their ultimate sharpness. Within the territory of Huashu Kingdom, he could even directly contend with beings at the level of a primordial queen. Although they were far from the land of Huashu Kingdom and the blessing of faith was weakened, the protective and amplifying effects of the battlesuit itself were still present. The Eternal Judgment Sword appeared in his hand. The sword is straight, its edge serene. There are no exaggerated flames, no dazzling special effects, only a simple and extreme sharpness, a sharpness that sends chills down your spine at first glance. Zhang Yi, should we all come at him together? Uncle Yu's voice came from behind. Zhang Yi didn't turn his head. He just raised his hand. You guys just guard the ship, I'll handle these stray dogs. Too many things would only distract him, so Zhang Yi only used his shadow to bring Yang Xinshin and Zhou Ke along. He stepped off the bridge, causing spatial fluctuations. He activated the phaseless domain and instantly arrived at the edge of the outer deck. The transparent force field flickered slightly, clearing a path for him. The next moment, he stepped entirely into the vacuum of the universe. Beneath my feet lies the cold, silent dreamer. Ahead, powerful members of the race surged towards him like a swarm of locusts. Their armor gleamed in the light of different civilizations, some gold, some silver, some blue, some black. Each one was a small war fortress. Here ends today's chapter. I hope you liked it. Kindly do also subscribe to my gaming channel. I have to Fina a way to survive. Thanks.
Alright, that's it for today's chapter. Tell me in the comments which part you enjoyed the most. If you love manga style stories, don't forget to like the video and subscribe the Buzz Play Manga. See you in the next chapter with more surprises. Thank you.